everyone, welcome back to another episode of Brothers in Business. Today we're talking about possibly the most important commodity in every single human's life, which is time, and how you can get more out of your time and how you can actually leverage time to your advantage. Now, in business for us, time is possibly the most important commodity when it comes to making decisions regarding staff, regarding targets, goals, how we spend our time and where we can leverage our time to get the best results. So there are so many things that you can do to ensure that you're spending your time wisely. But obviously, kicking things off, what are some of the things that you do or that you recommend people should be doing with their time to at least claw some of it back where people might be wasting it?
Yeah, so the biggest one for me, I've found, again, just on the same basis of our business, it was more wasting time with menial tasks that anyone can do on minimum wage. That's why you pay people on different salary bands, because different people have different skills. And I found that when I did a time log, so it's just a sheet of paper where it's got in hour increments, so 9 to 10, 10 to 11, and so forth. And when I'd wrote down, what I was doing within those hours, and you sort of think, well, that's all where my time's going. I'm just wasting time doing some of these tasks. So you think, I can hire someone else and then do the more valuable tasks and then get more work done through efficiencies. Now, I've even started to implement or looking at implementing, like cleaners at home, where, it takes me 2-3 hours to clean the house. With my girlfriend who puts a bit of work into cleaning. But, the time to do it. And then you can get a cleaner in who's going to do it. And if you leverage your time, I think that's the most important, is leveraging it.
Well, first of all, it's nice that in 2024 you're sharing the cleaning duties at home.
Tell me about it.
Fair play to you, equality and all of that. So we know what type of household you're running. Now, I'm sort of the same opinion as you, that the minute you start to actually take a log or take account of the time that you're spending, certainly at work, but even in your own life or your personal life away from work, there's something now that was one of the best features that Apple came up with, for me anyway, was the screen time on your phones, which is scary. And I remember going on it for the first time, and I thought to myself, this cannot be real. There's no way. And I'll be honest with you, it was 9 hours, 8 hours in a day, in one day on your phone. Now, that is frightening. It sounds, obviously, there's going to be elements of that that's going to be sort of potentially, listening to music, watching podcasts, and using the time on my phone wisely where it's actually productive and it's going to help me, where I'm learning something. It's not just mindless scrolling on TikTok, which we've talked about before, and everybody knows my stance on that. But it's about sort of looking at the time that you're currently spending and finding ways to sort of buy it back. Again, there's a great book on this, Dan Martell, Buy Back Your Time. Really, really good book. And the benefits of reading that book and taking in the information allows you to see the world in a different way. And some people will look at this and think how lazy or must be nice for you. But it's a mindset. And the whole thing behind having a cleaner or looking at having things like your meals delivered. There's a big thing at the minute where it's like Simmer, you can have meal plans delivered, which are healthy food options that you can cater to your own dietary requirements. And yes, they might be a little bit more expensive, but it saves you all of the time it would take to do the shopping, to do the cooking, to prep it all, and to actually even have it be healthy and taste how you'd want it to taste. Everybody forgets about those costs because most people only think about the cost of money, and they completely eradicate the cost of time. And no sane mind or no sane person, in my opinion, would ever get to sort of, 30 years of age, or I suppose any age really. And if I said, you can buy 5 years on top of your life, you can buy an extra 5 years for, a couple of grand or a couple of £100 or whatever. No one's going to go, no, I don't want more time actually. No, I'm all right. You know, it's very rare that someone's going to say that. So why do people not think in terms of time expenditure rather than just the current money or financial expenditure? Well, I've spent £10 on this chicken, so it's cost me £10. Well, no, it hasn't. What do you earn an hour? How much is your time worth? And then calculate that into the process of actually cooking. So when you say do a time log and you're thinking about, right, how much time am I actually spending doing the tasks like cooking the chicken, freezing the chicken, storing the chicken, and doing what you want to it? That is, that sounds a bit weird, but you know what I mean?
Massage it.
Sometimes nice tender bit of chicken. But it's true. No, like you think about it in that sense where your time is money, and because it is the most valuable commodity, how to start buying some of it back. Now, a good exercise for this, so anyone that's listening, if you divide your annual salary by 2,000, that will give you a baseline figure to start using to potentially outsource some of these tasks. Now, once you've taken that figure, and ignore about taking off taxes and worrying about any of that, just divide your annual salary, whatever it is written down, divide it by 2,000. And if that comes to, let's say, £20 an hour, think about your time in that new way of £20 an hour, because that's what your time is worth currently. Obviously, as you start to earn more money, that will go up. But if you can then outsource tasks to other people, whether it's a cleaner, whether it's Hello Fresh meals or Simmer meals or a meal plan, outsource that to others where a cleaner might cost you £15 an hour. So rather than thinking about the cost, a cleaner's going to cost me £15 an hour now, actually, it's making you £5 an hour, provided you're spending the provided you're spending the time productively. Once you've saved it, i.e. on the cleaning, you don't then spend it on the Xbox or scrolling on TikTok. You spend it doing something productive.
Yeah, I mean, I've spoke to my friends about even just one of these silly things, which is just one of the most obvious ones now. You know, we've all heard of like bank switches, and you can make 150 quid. And I've spoke to my friends before. They're like, I just want to I can't afford X, Y, and Z. And then I've said, well, just do a bank switch. She's like, well, I haven't got the time. And that's again, well, if you paid a cleaner just once to do your house once and spent the 3 hours, it doesn't even take that long, just doing a bank switch, you've already covered that cost. It's just a really simple one. I mean, one of the other things that people tend to outsource a lot is car washing. Most people don't really probably wash their own car. They tend to just go somewhere down the road and it's £5 to £10. Now that's worth, the money to save the time. And you might end up going into a garden centre or doing shopping or doing like certain things which are more valuable. And there's some of the simple ones that, anyone would use on a day-to-day basis. I mean, the bank switch one, that's the most obvious one that I can think of really, where it's like 30 quid, you make an extra 120.
I think you've made the point of, like you said, people telling you, I haven't got the time. And how often do we hear that? Well, I haven't got the time. I haven't got the time for that. Why don't you start a business? Oh, I haven't got the time. Well, why don't you why don't you learn something? Why don't you commit yourself to a new sport or to learning a new hobby? Anything. I haven't got the time for that. Even relationships, taking this away from financials, think about your relationships with your friends and your families and your loved ones. How much better off would you be if you were able to say to your partner or say to your friends, let's meet up and let me dedicate a night to you for just time between us where we can spend quality time together, where you haven't got the distractions because you've now bought yourself the time that you would have otherwise have wasted on doing some of the mundane tasks. Like you said, I'm not saying everybody can afford the luxury of having a cleaner and a cook or a gardener, but it's more about the mindset of people going, they haven't got that sort of abundance mindset because they save themselves the time, but then waste it by scrolling on TikTok or making or playing games or going out drinking. Whereas think about what you could do with those extra hours that you've saved, by then starting a business, by then increasing your learning, reading books, watching a podcast. Because again, for me, you can't unlock these sorts of secrets, let's say, until you've spent the time watching a podcast like this, leveraging other people's knowledge, reading books. And once you've started to do that, you then find that you've got more time than ever before, because you're not only saving the 2-3 hours that you've bought back by getting a cleaner, you're then becoming more efficient in the tasks that you're doing because you're better at them, because you've got more knowledge, and now you're completing tasks faster, or you're doing a better job of the tasks themselves, so you're getting a bigger output from them. And that's a compounding effect then. So it starts to grow and grow and grow and get bigger. So you spend your time learning, which means that you've now saved the 2 hours cleaning, you've now spent 2 hours learning. That learning that you've done has now compounded into your work, where you're doing a better job, let's say in sales. You've learned about sales. You're now getting, you might double your sales, which might double you, not maybe double your salary, but you get an extra 20-30% in your salary, which means you've now got more money to now buy back more areas of time. Now you might have a gardener. You don't need to do 2 hours of gardening. Use the 2 hours to learn even more. And it's that snowball effect as it starts to grow, which is something that we've done. And again, I go back to the importance of learning, which we've done another episode on, of why it is so crucial to do it. But if you haven't got the time, you need to start looking for it.
Yeah, I mean, you know, the main time that it's brought me back through some of these things, again, going to the gym, but then it's not just, like we're saying, it's the positive mental health that has for you to do a task or to do something like going to the gym. I mean, that's the main one, you know, people, I don't have enough time to go to the gym. Don't have enough time. And, you know, again, if you can just buy back that extra hour, even if it was just an hour. I mean, sometimes people are going to say, well, I don't want to do the cooking because I like cooking. Well, yeah, I like cooking, but I just don't do it every day. You know, I've leveraged that out to the missus.
And that's, again, nothing wrong with that. Again,
but she enjoys it just anyway. But yeah, exactly.
It's a balancing act, isn't it?
Exactly,
so if you're finding ways to help distribute your time, it's a good way to do it. But I think the first thing then everybody needs to do is, first of all, look at their phone usage, see where they're spending the time, take a time log of the actual things you're getting done in the day, and see if anything falls below that salary divided by 2,000. And if it does, start to look at ways to outsource that to people who might be on a sort of lower salary than you. If it doesn't, then you need to really be thinking about how to get your salary up, which again, we've done another episode on how to increase your salary. So give that a watch. And obviously there might be some sort of little golden nuggets in there for you to take away to get your salary up, to then start implementing this. But it's all related. It's all interlinked, you know, buying back time, increasing your salary, learning. You know, you'll find that the most successful people in the world are all doing the same things. It's just making sure that you've got the right mindset and you're taking the action to actually just achieve, or not to achieve, sorry, that you're actually taking the action to get those steps done, because the successful people in this world are all taking them. And you'll find the more successful people that you speak to, like we start to now, they're like, it sounds weird, but they're almost like clones. They're like carbon copies, because everything that they say just hits. It's so familiar because, well, that's what I do. And then you start to learn some new ideas and things, and it goes from there. But again, it's important to do that.
Yeah, well, we've said about, you know, what are the traits that some of these hyper successful people have? Well, one of the main ones I would say then is how they view time and time leverage, and it's that they look at things not from a monetary standpoint but from a time standpoint. You know, like, you know, Stephen, what's his name? Stephen Bartlett. You know, I mean, like most of them, but you know, you see it through his videos that he does. You know, he's got a driver. You know, he doesn't drive anywhere, but you know, if you were to spend an hour, 2 hours of your own life, I mean, we've just been down to London. You know, 3 hours of, you know, driving. If you had someone else to drive and you could have the internet or be productive or do your finances or do these things, you're buying back 3 hours of time just by, you know, renting out a driver. And obviously that's then getting up into the, you know, it costs more money, and that's out of reach for some people because maybe their time is more valuable for the salary that they're earning than paying for a driver. So you start off small, like we're saying, like with gardening or a cleaner or these things, and then you build up to that.
I mean, something we did. We've just been to Vegas and I went to China twice this year, and we took a driver down to London. And look, the cost of a sort of a driver was sort of £350, £400, but I got 3 hours worth of work done in the back of the car with Wi-Fi in the back, comfortable. To then again, the next one people will say I'm sort of saying it to show off or to brag, but to then go into business class on a flight that allowed me to then be in comfort for 15 hours for China and 8 hours for America plus, where I can work for those 8 hours. If I've lost a full day of work, the cost of upgrading to business class would be less than the money that I've lost through missing a full day of productivity of work. Instead, thanks to technology, I'm able to work 37,000 feet up in the air, which is great. Again, that will improve over time as well. But it's about understanding that utilizing your time. It's why Elon Musk can have 3 businesses. He utilizes his time so effectively, and he gives the tasks that are, sounds weird to say it like this, but beneath his pay grade to people that are just as skilled or maybe even more skilled in that position than he is. And he can give those tasks to those people, get a better result for less money that it would cost him. So it's almost like another double up effect, because again, I hate cleaning, and outsourcing it to a professional cleaner will get me a better result for a time saving. So I save time, get a better result, and save money. So I'm winning in 3 separate areas rather than doing it myself.
Yeah, and that's it. And now I suppose we could even move on to some of the things that people do, which actually then wastes the times. I mean, it's some of the obvious ones, the social media side. Again, we go on about it a lot, but it's some of the biggest waste of time, just general procrastination. And I mean, we all do it, but it's about doing it in smaller volumes now.
I've got a good one for it. On the social media side, if you find yourself spending too much time on your phone, one of the best things to do, and again, look, we've all fallen foul to spending hours scrolling on our phones. There's apps nowadays. I use one called Cambo. I think it's free. You can literally just select a school of apps on your phone and it will lock them and you can't go back on them. So again, they would be like your Instagrams, your Snapchat, your WhatsApp, your text, whatever it might be that you're spending your time on. Select an app to lock them, and they'll set a timer. So you might want them off for 60 minutes. If you're trying to focus on work, maybe start small, start on 30 minutes. And if you find yourself that you can't even do 30 minutes, do 15, but at least lock them away so that your phone is unresponsive to those apps and you can't get on them for that period of time. So you've got no choice then. The other thing you could do is genuinely just lock your phone away or put your phone in another room to avoid the temptation, because again, smartphones are the biggest distractors of time nowadays. They're literally designed to be as addictive as possible. So you're spending as much time on them with so much technology and time gone into them, to literally down to the shape of them so they feel nice in the phone, like the actual brightness that they give you on the phone, the notifications, like the way it vibrates, the sounds that it makes. They're all designed purposely to make you pick that phone up. That is the whole point of them. And there's so much money and time invested into it that you're never going to win unless you sort of lock it away or move it away.
It's about making a conscious effort to think about it, I suppose. And that's the good thing about downloading those apps. It's going to ping off and make you think. I mean, I swear there's been a bit of uproar with how Apple's new Siri looks, because it's all very like you trigger it and it's all very like bright colors and that looks nice. And it's kind of like how, I think, again, the apps Robinhood with stocks, like it was made into kind of like a roulette, not roulette. It's almost like betting style, where it's almost like FIFA packs, if you remember those, right, where you're waiting, it builds up the, I don't know what the word is.
Suspense.
It builds up the suspense. That's exactly what I was looking for. But it builds up the suspense, and then that's the addiction that you get.
I think as well for me, everybody would be so upset with themselves if they didn't just start a few of these simple hacks. You know, the one thing that our dad always said to us was anytime he was wasting or any time that was wasted, he would be so hung up on it for such a long period of time. He'd always look for ways to try and improve the efficiency of it. And whether it was being stuck in traffic or whether it was waiting in a line or whatever it might be, he spent his whole time, his mind would just work in a way where he'd think, right, this is the fastest line, or this is the fastest queue, or I'm going to have my money ready to pay. The second somebody asks me, I'm going to have it ready. You know, it's one of, and he's passed it on to me, and I hate it. You know, you're waiting in queues, and you've got, bless them, some senior citizen, and they get to the end of the queue, they get told how much their shopping is going to be, and all of a sudden that's the queue then to take out their coin purse and fiddle through their wallets or purses and pull out exact change. And then all of a sudden hand it over bit by bit, and they're there for 5 minutes, 10 minutes. And I just think to myself, I just think of all of the seconds that I'm losing on my life as they're in front of me, wasting my time. Whereas I know if I could have just gone up and just Apple Pay it, I'd have done it in 2 seconds. And I've actually done it before, watching people, I promise you, where they've just taken that long, where their card might not have worked. I genuinely have. I mean, I checked how much it was before.
200 quid.
It was one of those where I thought to myself, my time is more valuable waiting here for you, or paying for your shopping, than it is waiting for you to fanny around. And so I just thought for £3, £5, I was like, I'm just paying for you, just go, because you're taking that long.
Good deed for the day as well, nice.
Well, exactly, but this is what I mean. So, you know, it's two-pronged, but it's one of those things where that is genuinely the level of buying back time that I am now in my own head. When I'm driving, I'll think of the fastest routes, or if I can get, it's a bit dangerous really, but
and it doesn't always work
a little bit, where, you know, you might cut it close on a red light where it's gone amber, and you just think, rather than slam my brakes on, I'm going to go. Or if there's a load of one-way traffic and I can sort of cut in a bit higher up. Now, I know everybody's going to say to me, this guy's an arsehole. But the way I look at it is, again, if I get to the end of my life and I could have almost like a statistics board, and they said to me, right, Tyler, here's a breakdown of your life, and you've spent 4 weeks stuck in traffic, you spent 7 weeks in queues, you've spent 3 weeks behind, you know, somebody that was fanning around with their change, Doris with a change at the groceries. And you could have bought all of that back had you have just been more efficient. Do you fancy living another 3 months of your life, not standing in queues, not waiting in traffic? I'd be stupid to not think, absolutely, all right, you've spent 4 months of your life cleaning, or 3 months of your life doing gardening, whereas I could have spent 4 months of my life doing something that I love. And again, that's for me such a driving force behind why I look for efficiencies in what I do, why I try to buy back as much time as possible, because of that simple fact.
Yeah, and I'll go back to one of the things I started with. The best way that I found that is the real eye-opener, you said it as well, where you look at your, you know, Apple phone's statistics and see where you're using your time and where you're spending the time on your phone. But then that time log was just like absolutely just a right eye-opener. And now you don't even have to just do it at work. You just do it throughout your whole day, your whole, you know, experience. Try and just put as much detail as you can. And then as you go through the day and you do it for like a week, couple of weeks, you can look and see and go, bloody hell, I've spent that much time just doing shopping. I've spent that much time doing the cooking. I've done that much time. And then you can decide whether it's worth it and you enjoy it and you want to do that, or you want to just do it a few days a week, or you want to do it never. Just put a value to it.
I think following on from that, to take that idea one step further, would be to then create a diary.
Yeah.
So once you've done your time log, and once you've decided what tasks you want to do, what tasks you want to outsource to other people, you should then have a set diary, and it should never be where every single half hour or hour is accounted for. You should have layered and structured days of the week where, for example, if for me, I would class Monday as a sales day. So that is a day for me to focus purely on sales. Tuesday is team training. Wednesday would be, again, meetings externally or internally. So I have time for, again, a lot of meetings on Wednesdays. And again, not to get further into it, but have a diary. Structure your time where each day is purposeful. So you know that on Monday, this is what I'm doing. Overall, yes, you've got time in there that you need to have for, let's say, miscellaneous or tasks that pop up that you can't account for. That's why I always say don't plan it by the hour. Just make sure that you've got some tasks on there that meet the purpose of the day, and make sure that you're going through that diary based off of the time log that you've done, and make sure you're ticking those tasks, and you'll find that you end up with so much more time each day.
But if you end up deviating, it's not the end of the world, but at least you're getting your mind in the process of, structure, I suppose. And the more structure you have, the better you're going to find, or the better you can plan your life.
Try not to, though, because again, like if you're going to do something where you've all of a sudden you just start deviating away from it straight away, that's when bad habits start and you just give up straight away. Try to be consistent.
Yeah.
And the better you are at staying consistent on a structured diary, again, the more time that you'll buy back. So again, I can't stress enough importance of buying back your time. Make sure that you're not wasting your time on mundane tasks, scrolling through your phone, cooking, cleaning, washing, ironing. Now, they're all luxuries that if you can afford to outsource to other people, remember the calculation, divide your salary by 2,000. Anything that falls under that number, you can potentially look to outsource, but then use the time wisely. When you're buying back that time, use it to learn, use it to study, use it to grow your company, use it to grow within the position you are. Don't waste the time that you've bought back, because then you're just adding an additional cost into your life and making things much worse. So again, haven't got anything else to add to that?
No, I'm the same.
Cool. Right. Thanks everybody for watching. Really appreciate you sticking around for us. If you have any more suggestions on buying back your time, or nifty little tips or tricks that you can share with people that you use to save time in your life, please share them below. In the meantime, make sure that you subscribe, and we'll see you in the next video.
Thank you.